Good morning. My name is Sonny Lee, and I want to present to you um, an episode of what I believe is America. In this case, might be the beginning of the end of America. I don't know. But I want to take you through a personal journey that I had or have been taking. Um, Back in the early 70s, there was an incident that really disturbed me. The incident was at a time when people was actually burning the American flag in protest. Keep in mind, I at the time was an active military, serving my country during what was the Vietnam era. And for me to see a bunch of white kids, privileged, came from well-to-do homes, burning the flag was one of the biggest insults I think I felt at that time. I grew up poor on welfare in a bad neighborhood. These kids grew up privileged, white, and didn't seem to have a care in the world except they didn't lack things the way they were, so they burned the flag in protest. I was not a happy camper. And at one point, I guess I made some kind of a statement. My first shirt called me into his office and he talked to me about it. And he reminded me of a few things that I'm gonna just lay out. First of all, if you're military, you know one thing for sure. You are not protected by the Constitution. You are governed by the UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You speak out like any other normal person, you could find yourself court-martialed or discharged. But you are there to fight for the freedoms that everybody else takes for granted. You are there to ensure that others around you can maintain their freedoms, even in an environment where you're not completely capable of sustaining your own. But that's okay. That's the fight. That's the thing that we did join, that we wanted to maintain. And the main thing we wanted to enjoin was the Constitution. The flag represents the Constitution. That's something that we should all remember. That's just, that's where it stands. And that's what I was so upset about, that they were burning that representation of the Constitution. As I said, my first shirt talked to me about that. First, UCMJ. Secondly, you don't have a freedom if you can't really fight for the person's freedoms next to you. You don't. They have that, I guess his name, Niemeyer, somebody, German, who said that little poem that says, and they came for me, but there was nobody left to speak for me. Um, if we don't speak for each other, freedom is lost. Absolute freedom is not freedom, it's anarchy. The Constitution should be respected at all times, even if you don't like what's happening. In this case, my first shirt gave me a little thing to remember. I call it a little ditty to remember. I may not like what you say. I may hate what you do, but I'll fight to the death your right to be so stupid. That's, in its irony, is what the Constitution allows people to be, basically, as stupid as they want to be, as long as they don't overtly hurt somebody else. They have a right to be. We have the responsibility to uphold that right. When I separated, first of all, Vietnam veteran was not anybody's favorite person. And I was a Black Vietnam veteran, considered to be fighting the white man's war. And because of my attitude, I was seriously kind of rejected because I was Uncle Tom. You see, I really do believe in the Constitution. And I was in San Jose, and there was some kind of a Klan march or whatever, that they were, anyway, they were literally members of the Klan. And people were there trying to stop them from marching or presenting, or they had a microphone and they were presenting. And I remember I was one, maybe it's my voice, maybe it's because I was Black that people noticed. I said, these people deserve a right to speak. Doesn't make any difference. They deserve a right to speak. And I became one of the worst Uncle Tom. Nobody liked me. They didn't understand that I wasn't advocating for what they were saying, but I am going to advocate for their right. As I told somebody at the time, and I still use this phrase, the unfortunate thing is for us, all of us, they have a right to call me a nigger. The Constitution doesn't protect me from getting my feelings hurt. That's what you have to understand. But you also have to understand something else. It does not give you the right to shut their voice down, but the Constitution gives you a right to raise your own and challenge them in their thought or what they're saying. If it's so offensive, point out to them why it's offensive. But you can't shut them down because you don't like what they're saying. I sincerely believe in fighting for the aspects to the Constitution, the history of why they were put there, and how it makes us as a people. The Constitution gives the United States the promise of everything that we claim we want to be, everything we say that we are and want to strive for. Recently, or not maybe recently, but an event happened within, relatively recent time, within the last year. We're coming up on the next anniversary. They call it the insurrection of January 6th. Insurrection because a bunch of white people, mostly, overwhelmingly, actually stormed a citadel of everything that this country said they believe in. They attacked the Capitol building, where our laws are made and our Constitution is held up. They attacked every principle that we claim to be as Americans. There's a next anniversary that's coming up soon. I look on this, I don't know if people are going to see this, but I see it as worse than December 7th, 1941. That was done by outsiders who hated us. This was done by our own. This day should live in as much infamy as December 7th, January 6th, because it's an attack on us, by us. It hurt because of the things that it was saying to me as a person, what it was saying to me as a Black person in America. I want to come back to that. But what frightens me is the legacy that it intends to leave. if we look at what's happening since that time, I want to share some thoughts with you and in this site, some what I believe is what that insurrection highlighted. First, I will go back to the Declaration of Independence. In the Declaration of Independence, everybody remembers the line, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. One thing I know about Americans is that we talk a lot about America and know very little upon which America stands and the documents that supports us. In that document, it states governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's an important statement. That's deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government become destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to abolish it and to institute new government. Keep in mind the reference for which this was said. This is related to having a king, which everybody in this country did not like, had no voice, had no way of saying, no way of challenging, and was under total subjugation. And they believe that the government should be of the people, for the people, and by the people, not for those people who are in power. That's what January 6th wants to return us to. A government that is under the auspices of a small group, predominantly white, and under white control. That bothers me. What bothers me also is what's been happening since that point. One of the things that's happening is how we, like I said, we don't understand the documentation or the document that actually governs us and guides us. We need to start getting back to basics. One of the things that they're trying to do is actually assess what did the insurrection of January 6th create? What did it do? But to do that, Congress has to be able to do its job. And what we're finding out is that there have been obstacles placed in front of the Congress to do exactly that. Now, the courts, one court is actually saying, we don't know if we really have a right. They don't. We have three branches of government, people. Each are basically independent or more like interdependent. But they're also separate. And they've been given their own direction. For the Congress to hold this meeting, it have its rules. And one of the rules is in the US Code. Now, the US Code, let me explain something about the US Code. It is a codified form of everything we have been practicing since we became a nation. They codified it in 1926. These are the rules that if you don't follow it in military life, you can get expelled from the service because they define everything, how we act, including how you present the flag. These are the rules underlining how we work. Constitution is the law. These are the rules for which we operate, and we must respect that. We may not like them. We don't like them, change them. But as long as they're not being changed, they need to be respected. In this case, what I'm afraid of is January 6th unleashed is the ability for people to ignore the rules of guidance for which we live. One of the rules that you see, if the news, these people want to say they don't want to have to testify. Well, if you look at this, it's in the code, the section for the code. Every person willfully makes default, or who having appeared refuses to answer any questions pertinent to the question under inquiry shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor. Period. If they don't want to speak, then they are guilty of a misdemeanor. This is the rules for which govern and which we have lived under the Constitution and under Congress. That's, I mean, we live by this. If we're going to honor this, this is what we have to do. U.S. Code, Section 193, privilege of witnesses. No witness is privileged to refuse to testify to any fact or to produce any paper. I mean, these people have to produce. There's no choice. They can't go to court. They can't do anything except comply. That is the rule. If you don't like the rule, here's the irony. Any president can change and modify these rules. No president has. But they don't want to respect because they feel they are above all of America's constitutional, all of America's rules, the United States Code. They are above all that. And if we let people believe that they can be above that, we lose because we have no rules. We have no guidance. That's what January 6th means to me. The loss of everything that guides us in the code of honor, as well as the Constitution that we stand on. That's what January 6th means to me. Many people said that, well, these people go in there, they want to speak, but they won't, as they put it, take the Fifth Amendment. Again, nobody even understands the amendments. Nobody reads it. I highlighted a little part of the Fifth Amendment because nobody shall be compelled to speak or betray himself. However, the Fifth Amendment is very restricted in that. It says they will not have to be, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Congress is not a court. Congress isn't there in presenting of a criminal case. It was very specific that the protection against self-incrimination can be held in any criminal case. It can't be used against you in a criminal case. But a civil case and Congress, there's no constitutional protection for that. I'm sorry for people, but that's the Constitution. If we're not going to abide by it, then we have lost it. We will also have lost the country. A while back, there was a situation with the flag. Colin Kaepernick took his knees. Like I said, I started my journey with understanding the Constitution because of white kids burning the American flag. I thought that was so disrespectful. I still think it's disrespectful. But what's more disrespectful? It's not standing up for America by using those tools that America and the Constitution gave you for fighting for those freedoms and maintaining those freedoms. Because those people shed blood for that. And even if it's a flag and symbolic gesture, that's not an insurrection. Taking a knee, it's not an insurrection. And as it goes, as I said, the people who wants to cry the most are the greatest offenders. The U.S. Code, Section 8, respect for the flag defines that. No disrespect should be shown to the flag of the United States of America. But let's look at just a couple of the items that defines it. The flag should never touch anything beneath it, such as the ground, the floor, water, or merchandise. You want us to take a picture of what they do with the flag on January 6th? Do you want to see where the flag ends up in many of the cases? You want to see how they respect the Constitution by use of the flag? This is not about respecting the United States and its law. This is about simply destroying what they don't like. Another group that I always love that they talk about the flag, that loves to wave the flag, loves to talk about with flag. I call them NASCAR people. We have a code that explicitly states the flag should never be used as wearing apparel, bedding, or drapery. Period. And yet these people come out with shirts, pants, bathing suits, underwear as the flag. Think of it. You're pissing on the flag when you wear clothes close to your skin. You're causing your sweat and all the stench. And this is what you're saying all the flag is worth? I never put the colors of the flag on my body. Not what except as is defined by the respect as a pin or lapel. You don't wear it as a shirt. You certainly don't wear it as a bathing suit. You respect the rules for which we claim to govern ourselves, the rules for which we claim to craft the moral code for us, the rules for which we claim to respect each of us and the freedoms that we each must share. If we're not going to, then we have no country. The First Amendment, Congress should make no law respecting establishment of religion. Now, I put this in here for a reason, because First Amendment encapsulate everything that all those who came before us have fought for way back in the Revolution. Now, I put that in there as a highlight. So what I feel is the Supreme Court now. The Supreme Court has not lived up to its status as a legal organization to protect the constitutional rights of the people. It has proven to be degraded and descended into degradation to be no more than another political arm of the three branches of government. That's all it is. It's now it's going to try to find reasons to justify what decisions that it wanted to make before each one of these people came in. Their political views supersedes the Constitution. And I'm using this first one simply because abortion is a choice. It's a free choice. But the rules or the argument against it isn't based in the Constitution, it's based in religion. No law, no religion should be used to define and create a law, because when they created this, they didn't want any one religious group, no matter how big it was. The Catholic Church and the Church of England were very big, but they were wrong in their politics. The dogma of white evangelism is the result led up to the zealousness of theirs, led up to January 6th. The laws isn't what they want it to be. Therefore, they'd rather take other people's freedoms and then cry about their own when nobody's taking their freedom. It's just making sure others can practice their religion and their freedoms. That becomes very important. Just like the right to vote. I've been trying to find organizations, groups to help us maintain the right to vote as established by the 14th Amendment. Supreme Court's walking away from the protection of the 14th Amendment. It is and has become another political organization. That's what January 6th means to me. The deterioration of everything we believe in. You don't have to like somebody else, but you have to protect their rights even more than you protect your own. We are falling short of all we said that we want to be. The 10th Amendment is the best way we learn to fight, that we fight back. And it's stated, and it gives us the power. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution. It's reserved either for the state, and here's the crucial thing, or to the people. The people in Michigan have figured this out. The Republicans in Michigan figured this out. That if they can get the people to pass a law restricting abortion, not even the governor can veto it. What about the rest of us? Are we willing to create the laws that we know are right and we are respectful of the Constitution? Are we willing to fight? Protest is wonderful for making your message or giving your message. I'm a military person or ex-military person. That definition says I will fight. I don't necessarily need guns. All I need is the will of others to help me to pass forth the laws that we need to make sure that the code of the United States, the US code, and the Constitution are adhered to, respected, honored, and obeyed. Can we have the courage of those who hate? Can the courage of our love be as dedicated to the preservation of this country as their hate is to destroying it? These is how 24 of our states allow us, in fact, to modify the laws or create our laws that supersedes, quote, what Congress people do. Referendum initiative proposal. Each one of us should find out for our state what we can do. And if the state doesn't have anything, no guidance, well, then that means it's wide open for you to do what you want to do because the Constitution tells you you have a right to do it. This is what January 6th means to me. It meant a return to an old feeling that I had that I grew up with in the 50s and 60s. That I was Black in America, but I wasn't a Black American because I was separated and it interfered with another groups, what they feel their right to control. I went from Uncle Tom, I don't know, conservative, even racist, to now my journey has led me for the same fight. I am now considered a liberal progressive. The Constitution has not changed. My fight for the Constitution has not changed. The hate that's going to allow us to be destroyed has not changed. January 6th was a warning. I personally believe that God sends us a message, a notification. January 6th was such a notification. The last time we had one was 1995, when government building was totally destroyed in a bomb. I guess we didn't pick up on that. So we needed January 6th as a message to wake us up, hopefully make us aware. We can't have any more of those. So we've got to really fight for those things that defined by the Constitution and highlighted by the US Code to give up everything, the laws that we need. You got to remember, the Supreme Court has proven themselves to be the legal arm of the Republican Party as opposed to the justice arm of the American people. That means that they're going to try to destroy laws. That's going to destabilize us as a people. Before, when you can change laws based on your politics, based on your personal religious conviction, that is destruction of the freedoms of that the Constitution had provided us. I'm created this message in hopes that there will be those who might listen, but also many of those who might stand up. This country, I believe in, gave us the greatest promise of any country I've ever traveled to. Gave us the promise of one people, a creed that we all can live in the diverse nature of our cultures that we feed upon, each of us. We have the greatest potential to be what the world needs. Question comes in, do we have the courage at all? To fight for it, to keep it. To be everything that we said we want to be. That courage exists for us.